Ever wonder why you fall too hard, too fast, and feel totally crushed when things go even a little sideways? Or why a weird delay in a text reply can make your stomach feel like it's full of rock candy and bees? I thought love just kinda sucked. Turns out it wasn't love. It was my own anxious attachment that was setting me up for a wild emotional roller coaster I did not sign up for. And I'm betting I'm not alone. So if you've ever found yourself replaying messages, overanalyzing emojis, or feeling all twisted up when someone you like acts distant, stick around. Because once I figured out what anxious attachment really meant, every confusing heartbreak suddenly made sense. I'll share how I learned to spot it, why it happens, and what actually helps. And I promise, it's not just loving yourself more, because if you're like I was, you already tried that, and yikes. I'll also spill how I nearly let it blow up something actually good, and what turned things around when I could have kept repeating the same old messy story. Ready for some real talk about love, brains, and why your ex isn't totally to blame? Let's get into it. Why I thought dating was just brutal. If you know, you know. Here's how my love life used to go. Meet someone nice, catch feelings fast, get that excited stomach flip over texts and dates. Start worrying constantly. Are they losing interest? Did I say something weird? Why didn't they reply sooner? When things got even a bit distant, I'd spiral. Overthink every little thing, blame myself. Ending things felt extra personal, like a hit to my self-worth. Honestly, I thought dating just sucks for sensitive people. Or maybe I'm just not cut out for this. Maybe you felt the same. But one night, after yet another late-night social media scroll and some questionable advice about texting rules, I hit this video that talked about anxious attachment styles, and my jaw actually dropped. What even is anxious attachment? Turns out there are 4 main attachment styles, kind of like the settings you run relationships on. Secure, the chill pros. Anxious, me unfortunately. Avoidant, the emotionally distant types. Fearful avoidant, a little bit of both, double trouble. Attachment theory goes back to psychologist John Bowlby and later Mary Ainsworth, who studied how babies and kids bond with caregivers, and how that sticks with us way into dating, texts, and ghosting as adults. People with anxious attachment often worry a lot about being rejected or abandoned, even when things seem fine. Get super sensitive to changes in moods or attention. Seek constant reassurance. Sometimes act clingy or needy, even if they hate being seen that way. It's not just being dramatic. It's actually a pattern the brain developed to survive emotionally, usually because when we were kids, we didn't always know if comfort was coming or not. Maybe your folks were very loving but also a little unpredictable, busy, or up and down. In grown-up life, this pattern makes your brain light up with red alerts anytime there's even a tiny hint your partner could pull away. The science hits different. Scientists actually back this up. Studies show that around 20% of people have an anxious attachment style, and these folks really do feel more stress and sadness after fights or when a relationship is rocky. Even their brains show it on scans. One study found that anxious people's brains light up more in areas linked to pain and threat when shown photos of someone expressing rejection, even if it's just a picture. Yeah, your brain is working overtime. And it's not just in your head, as in imaginary, it's in your brain wiring. But I didn't know. That's the tricky part. See, a lot of us don't realize we have anxious attachment. It looks like just being really invested, wanting to text all the time, worrying about little shifts in mood, getting mad at yourself for being too much but not being able to stop. I used to think everyone felt this way but just hid it better. But when I talked to friends, some really did shrug off slow replies with an, "Oh well." I honestly couldn't believe it. How anxious attachment shows up. Ever done any of these? Obsess about why someone hasn't responded for a few hours. Reread messages to make sure you didn't mess up. Apologize for things you didn't actually do wrong just to keep the peace. Feel an intense swirl of emotions when a partner pulls back, cancels a plan, or acts different. Scroll social media obsessively to check on someone. Think you're not lovable enough when things get rocky. That's anxious attachment in the wild. It's exhausting, and it messes with your self-esteem, and often sabotages good connections because you see danger that isn't really there. My lightbulb moment, aka the meltdown. Picture this. I was dating someone genuinely kind. No games, just a nice person. Everything was good. Until one day, he didn't reply to my text for 6, then 8, then 10 hours. I actually felt sick. I was convinced I'd messed up or he was over it. By the time he texted, "Sorry, back-to-back meetings, didn't even eat lunch," I'd already worked myself into a full spiral. I acted cold for a bit, punished him without saying why, then apologized a million times. The vibe got weird. A totally normal human thing became a full relationship mini-crisis. Looking back, this wasn't the only time. I realized I was almost addicted to chasing reassurance. Yet when I got it, I didn't believe it would last. Bingo, classic anxious attachment. Where does it come from? Not about blame, but knowledge is power. Here are common roots. Not always getting comfort as a kid, maybe attention was sometimes there, sometimes not. Feeling like you had to earn love by being good or helpful. Chaos, unpredictability, or big feelings at home growing up. Past relationships, if you got ghosted or hurt, your brain remembers and tries to protect you later, even when it's not logical. Even if your childhood was mostly great, small inconsistencies add up, and it's not anyone's fault. The brain is just trying to keep you emotionally safe. Why is it so hard to change? Our brains hate uncertainty. For the anxiously attached, even small changes or space feel like life or death scenarios. That's an ancient survival skill, not modern dating reality. So, we do whatever we can for reassurance. Texting more, acting clingy, picking fights just to get a reaction, apologizing or people-pleasing. But here's the catch. None of this really helps. The more you chase, the more anxious you feel, and sometimes the more you might push good people away. What actually helps? Here's where things started to shift for me. I didn't fix my attachment overnight. You can't. But there's real research on what makes it easier. Learning about your pattern. Crazy how much it helps just to know. You can spot your anxious thoughts before acting on them. Naming your needs. Instead of hinting, I slowly learned to say, "Hey, I feel a bit anxious when we don't talk much. Can we figure out what works for both of us?" Finding relationships that are actually safe. If someone's truly consistent and kind, your brain can slowly chill out. Practicing self-soothing. Instead of texting for comfort, do something that calms you. Music, walk, call a friend. Therapy. Not a miracle cure, but a big help for understanding your wiring. In one study, people with anxious attachment who practiced self-awareness and communication were less likely to act out in relationships and reported higher satisfaction over time. It's not about being less needy or loving yourself more. It's about knowing how you tick so you can make healthier choices and not let fear call all the shots. What I wish I knew sooner. Wanting connection is not a weakness. Needing reassurance doesn't make you high maintenance, but how you ask for it matters. Your attachment style is a clue, not a curse. The right people won't mind your honest feelings, and you'll spot the ones who truly value you. Brains can change with practice and patience. Seriously. Moments that changed everything. I remember the first time I went 24 hours without obsessively checking my phone. It sounds small, but it was massive. Another breakthrough was when I finally told a new partner, "I get a little anxious if I don't hear from you for a while. Not your problem to solve, but just wanted you to know." He appreciated the honesty, and even having that out in the open made a huge difference. Turns out, vulnerability is scary, but way less exhausting than pretending all the time. There were relapses. Sometimes I'd find myself back in old habits, spiraling after silly things. But it got easier each time to breathe and reframe. Hey, this is just that old anxious story, not reality. For anyone watching, you're honestly not alone. Statistically, millions of people have this attachment style, and almost all of them feel alone or too much. You aren't. And the way you feel doesn't mean you can't have solid, happy, stable love. In fact, knowing your pattern can make you a way better partner, more empathetic, more communicative, less likely to bail when things get bumpy. So if your love life feels like a series of storms followed by sunny spells and followed by more storms, it's possible anxious attachment is at work. Knowing that could be the single most important step you take. What you can do, without weird voodoo or magic texts. Learn about attachment styles, just like you are right now. Notice your patterns. Practice pausing before reacting. Talk honestly with people you trust. Get support from books, therapy, or other people who get it. There's nothing wrong with wanting closeness, but there's a better way to get it than chasing, worrying, or letting old ghosts set your house on fire. If you can spot your anxious attachment, you can work with it, not against it. That's how you stop a pattern from ruining your love life and start having relationships that actually feel safe and fun. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.